From Washington, this is VOA News. The U.S. expects a North Korean missile launch, more dead from China bird flu. I'm Ray Kugel reporting from Washington. The United States expects North Korea will launch one of its missiles in the coming days. Defense Department officials tell VOA they've been preparing for the possibility and are taking Pyongyang's threat seriously. North Korea says that its military was given final approval for a nuclear attack against the United States, a threat most analysts think Pyongyang would be unable to carry out. South Korea confirms the North moved one of its missiles to the country's east coast. VOA's Steve Herman reports.
South Korea's defense minister has told lawmakers North Korea has moved a missile with considerable range to the eastern coast of the peninsula. But Kim Kwan-Jin says the reason for the missile's movement is unknown, but it could be testing or drills. The Asahi newspaper in Japan reports that a U.S. intelligence satellite spotted what appeared to be a long-range KN-8 missile being transported on a train. South Korea's semi-official news agency, quoting government sources in Seoul, says the missile on the move is a Musudan-type medium-range missile. It has a range of about 3,000 kilometers, meaning it could strike South Korea or Japan. Steve Herman, VOA News, Seoul.
Iran's chief nuclear negotiator is demanding that world powers recognize an Iranian right to enrich uranium. Saeed Jalili spoke on the eve of talks in Kazakhstan with counterparts from the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council plus Germany. The United States and its allies accuse Iran of amassing highly enriched uranium as part of a covert drive to make nuclear bombs. Tehran insists its nuclear program is peaceful. The International Committee of the Red Cross says calm's been restored to Bangui, the capital of the Central African Republic. But the ICRC warns the risk of looting and renewed fighting is still very high. Lisa Schlein reports.
The International Committee of the Red Cross reports it is relatively calm in Bangui, but things are far from normal after rebels took control following heavy fighting last month. It says water and electricity are back on, shops, supermarkets, and restaurants are open again. But it says the situation in the capital city is still very fragile and unstable, and people live in the fear of renewed looting and clashes among armed men. The ICRC currently is assessing the medical situation in Bangui and general needs throughout the country. Water, food, and shelter are priorities. The ICRC also is working to reunite unaccompanied children with their parents. Lisa Schlein for VOA News, Geneva.
U.S. government agents have arrested Guinea-Bissau's former Navy chief, who's been named a kingpin of the international drug trade. Sources in Cape Verde, off Africa's west coast, tell VOA that Bubo Nachuto was brought to the island nation Thursday and then put on a plane for the United States. The U.S. says Nachuto is involved in international narcotics and cocaine trafficking from South America. The death toll from the new strain of bird flu sickening people in eastern China climbed to 5, the 2 latest deaths being reported in the commercial hub of Shanghai. Chinese officials and state media confirmed the death Thursday of a 48-year-old man who transported poultry for a living. The other victim was not identified. Chinese officials have now identified 14 cases of the H7N9 virus, which until recently had not been known to affect humans. Authorities in Hong Kong are monitoring poultry farms and suspending live bird exports from mainland China. And in Japan, airline passengers from China are being asked to report any influenza-like symptoms. Japan moved sharply Thursday to stimulate its economy and end 2 decades of economic malaise. Bank of Japan Governor Haruhiko Kuroda announced a major shift in monetary policy for the world's 3rd largest economy. The European Central Bank is keeping its benchmark interest rate at its record low level, declining to lower it even further to boost the Eurozone's weak economy. The bank kept the rate at 0.75%. That's the highest among the world's major central banks. Central Bank President Mario Draghi says the Eurozone's economic outlook remains weak.
Weak economic activity has extended into the early part of the year, and a gradual recovery is projected for the second half of this year, subject to downside risks.
Central banks in the United States, Japan, and England have launched large-scale asset purchases to push their key interest rates closer to zero. I'm Ray Kugel, VOA News. More on the internet at voanews.com.